Γεια σου, καλώς ήλθες σε ένα special Game of Money podcast. Είναι το δεύτερο που κάνουμε στα αγγλικά, με καλεσμένο τον Morgan Goodlander, και θα τον αφήσω στηθεί μόνος του, το γυρίσουμε στα αγγλικά από εδώ και πέρα. Θυμίζω ότι αν με τα αγγλικά έχεις τα θεματάκια σου, μπαίνεις στο YouTube με αυτό με τους υπότιτλους εκεί. Και ο Morgan θα είναι από τους βασικούς ομιλητές του Game of Money Festival του 25. Οπότε σήμερα θέλουμε να το γνωρίσουμε καλύτερα. So Morgan, it's nice to have you here.
It's a pleasure.
Yes. So you visited Greece for your own reasons, and it was a great opportunity to meet you in person because you will be one of our basic speakers at the Game of Money Festival 2025. So I would like our followers and our listeners to get to know you better. So could you introduce yourself? You know, who you are, what you do?
Well, my name is Morgan Goodlander. I'm the director of the GETI Institute in San Francisco. I've been coming to Greece for quite a number of years, off and on, for various events. I love Greece. It's a beautiful country. The people are wonderful.
What's your favorite city in Greece?
My favorite city, well, that's hard. It's difficult. I like to spend time on Idra, on the island of Idra. Amphissa. I just came from Amphissa for Easter. Okay. And then we drove to Meteora and spent some time there during the holidays.
Do you have some friends there or just?
I have family.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, there's so many beautiful places in Greece that it's hard to name them, actually.
Okay.
But those are the two that stand out for me. And of course, Athens is a fantastic, beautiful city. So.
Perfect. So tell us some more things about the GETI Institute and what you do there, and your background.
Let me start out. I originally was a psychotherapist. I was training psychotherapists in San Francisco, and one day I got a email from a graduate student in Greece that said, "Would you come to Greece to teach?" That's how I got here, quite a number of years ago, and. You know, I had never been to Greece. Actually, I'd spent time in France and Italy and some of the other European countries, but never Greece. So I said, yeah, sure, I'm interested to come. So I started to come to Greece to train psychotherapists. And of course, that's the work I was doing in San Francisco. Okay.
As an individual, you had your own office, your own company?
The Gestalt Institute of San Francisco was and it is still there. But what happened was I started to see couples in my private practice in San Francisco, and many of those couples had businesses. Either the husband or the wife owned a business, or they were both quite involved in the business. And since I did a good job with their marriage, they often, they said, well, gee, you did so well with us. Why not meet our partners? We're having some problems with our partners, and we could use your help. So I started then working with founders and business partners to resolve the conflicts within the business.
So not as a business consultant, as a relationship consultant.
A relationship consultant. My father had a sign company, so I grew up around a small business environment and entrepreneurship and so forth. So that wasn't completely foreign to me because we would have these kinds of talks at dinner and so forth. Okay. But I didn't have a degree in business, or I didn't have any background in that way. And so what happened was I started to be invited they said, well, you did good with us, and now with the partners, why don't you meet the team? Okay. So then it expanded to the team. So now I was consulting with the team, and I started to listen a lot because I had to understand what the problem was.
Okay.
And as a result, I got a business education, because I had to sit there and listen for hours to what was going on. So
again, you listen to all of the perspectives,
yes,
from all levels, because each one has his own point of view.
Exactly, and of course the problems were repetitive. There was always someone who was more practical than the rest, or someone who was more idealistic. I started to see the repetitive patterns of how these business teams end up in trouble with each other.
No matter what kind of business.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So you see patterns.
So I started to see patterns, and I started to interview each one of the, chiefs, the heads of their departments. I would interview each one first, so I had an idea already of what their perspective was. Anyway, the long and short of it is, I ended up being exposed to a large number of leadership at a very high level from the beginning. So it gave me an advantage. And so from there, I started to do more consulting for businesses.
Okay, so at what age you started this kind of...
Oh, I wasn't so young then. I was probably 40,
Okay.
40.
So what kind of patterns? Because I think what happens in the US maybe also is the same here in Greece. Some of the basic problems that you have...
Well, I mean, there's one of the common ways that people organize their experience is that they want to satisfy the customer. So there's always a group of people that want to make things more efficient, want to make things run better, want to get the mechanism of the business running smoother, and they want to put mechanisms in place to identify what the customer wants and to satisfy the customer. This makes sense. However, there's a bunch of other folks who are of the view that the customer doesn't know what they want, right? And that we have to come up with new and innovative products that they don't even know they need, if you want to be, right? And I don't know if you've heard the blue and the red ocean metaphor, but they're saying, look, if you want to go out into a blue ocean, you've got to do something different. We've got to create we got to go somewhere where there's no competition. We have to be innovative. We have to have a moonshot. So this is often a tension between...
there is a conflict.
A conflict between, do we keep...
Because to go to the blue ocean, you have to also spend some money on R&D.
You have to take some risk.
Yes.
You have to guess. And if you're in the tech world where I was, you have to imagine what is the tech stack in the next 5 years. And you have to be right, because you're gonna invest a lot of money in these technologies. And if you invest a lot of money in a technology that is obsolete, if you build your product based on a technology that won't even be there in a few years, you're in trouble.
So the best way is to do both of these? Keep the existing business running and also fund the innovation. Can this be done, or is it...
Well, you'd think that because it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yes.
Right? What's difficult about business is that it doesn't actually make sense in that way. Because if it made sense, then we would all just make sense together, wouldn't we? Right? We just all figure, oh, that makes sense. Let's do that. So it's a bit more complicated. Part of it is the organization of the leadership team. Some leadership teams are just leaning towards innovation. That group is really innovative. That's what they do well. And if you try to make them, if you try to hold them back and you try to get them to build a better base, you're just wasting their, and you're just preventing them from being the geniuses that they are. So you really have to look at the makeup of the team, how well that team is going to work together spontaneously, and where you can fit that team in the market, so that you don't, so you're not trying to get people to be someone that they're not. Just because it makes sense. You follow me?
So since we're at the Game of Money podcast, how important do you think that money is for a company to grow or to dominate its area? Is money so important, or
I would
other
say
aspects?
it's fairly insignificant.
Okay.
Fairly insignificant. I mean, you have to have money.
Yes.
Of course. But money isn't driving. There's a tremendous amount of money in Silicon Valley. And when I first went there, I was shocked by the amount of money.
So you can find money very easily.
There's lots of money, and people want to give it to you.
Okay.
And they want to give it to you by the millions. The problem is, once you get it, what are you going to do with it?
Okay.
And you're also pressured to use it. I remember when I first started, I was in this company, and the growth had leveled off. We were on a high growth vector, and it started to level off, and people got very concerned that we needed to spend this money. And I thought, well, relax. We're not wasting them. Let's not waste the money. We have the money. Let's just relax.
Yes, but there was a pressure from the
investors. Of course, they're giving you money to make money, not to sit around with their money doing nothing. So the whole mentality is a bit different than one might imagine until you actually see how it works. But the money itself, is just that's just the basic requirement. What you really need is the ability to act effectively, and that is a much greater challenge. And the bigger the company, the less their ability to act effectively, and the smaller it is, the easier it is to manage, the more efficient it is, and so forth.
So for some companies, it's better to stay small?
I believe so, yeah. And the good news with that is it makes a lot of room for entrepreneurs. It's still true, even though that they want to say it's not. It's still true that 2 or 3 guys in a garage can do better than a 100-person team.
Okay.
Often.
Okay. So questions that came up now that we're talking. When you were doing this couple therapy.
Yeah.
How important was the money factor for the couple to have arguments or go?
Again, insignificant. You see, what's really important is what we experience on the outside with each other as marriage partners or business partners or members of the team. Most of what we're seeing is a projection of our own selves. So the world that we see and the people that we see are the people that we are. And what's really significant about that is the possibility that's available to me, or the possibilities I have in here are the possibilities I have out there. And I saw this again and again with leadership, is that all of the leaders the blocks were not in the strategy or what they were trying to do in the business. The blocks were in themselves when they came to the table as leaders. So we're all the source of our own limitations.
So it was their own fears of not succeeding, or what they will seem incapable?
Well, one of the things that I focus on in the GETI Institute, you asked me that earlier, is something that I call experience repetition or reoccurrence. Right?
Tell us more about this.
Yeah. We're all repeating what we already believe.
Okay.
And there's a term for that they call it confirmation bias in psychology.
Yes.
But confirmation bias is not just a cognitive phenomenon. It's not just a way in which we make meaning. If you take it deeper, it's the way in which we experience each other. So it's an experiential loop or experiential prison that I look for what I believe and I see what I look for.
And how do I break this loop?
Exactly. That's the big
the
question.
$1 million question.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we have to become aware that we're organizing ourselves in a particular way.
Okay.
And that is, there's an emotional lock component. For instance, most leaders, if you have some success, you get a little bit happy with yourself. Oh, I did pretty well. Not bad. I'm making more money than everybody else. I'm rising. I must be doing something right. And then you think to yourself, well, what is it? Because that's important. I want to know how to do it again. So your success strategy becomes your limitation strategy.
Because I think it will work again.
Yes, and again and again.
Okay, so it becomes arrogance.
It can come across as arrogance for sure.
Okay. And
you see a lot of that.
Yes.
But worse than arrogance is just the
laziness.
And that's also not so great. But it's the the belief that I'm right because I experienced it. See, I was successful. I did it. So I know it must be right. That's the problem.
Okay.
Because it's a false sense of security in returning to the success, the past success, and not being able to see, wait, we need something else here. I need to listen to. I don't understand what you're saying, but tell me more. That's the importance.
So it's about having the right mentors or the right circle of friends and colleagues to talk and learn from their experience.
Well,
it's a way.
What we teach at the GETI Institute is that it's a house of mirrors.
Okay.
Right? So all my limitations out here is a mirror of what's going on in here. I know that already. So when I have a problem with you, it's not so much about you. It's about me reflecting you back in some way that isn't working for us. Once you have that, that's extremely empowering, because I don't have to think, oh, I got to deal with him again. You know, he's going to say what he always says, and we're going to get into a conflict. I take ultimate responsibility for my limitations. That's a success strategy. That's if you really get that from the inside out, is unstoppable. You become unstoppable if you get through that.
Yes, I totally agree, because as I told you before we started the conversation, we have the αποφασίζω here in Greece. It's the biggest organization in personal development, and of course every human has the ultimate responsibility of his own life, and that's liberating if you see it from this point of view.
Absolutely.
I can change whatever happens inside, and it will reflect on the outside. But it's not so easy, especially in the Greek mentality, to persuade someone to start this kind of journey, because at the beginning it's a bit hard. It's easy to blame others.
Yes, it's very easy. Blaming others is it is a worldwide problem, and it's huge. It's holding our planet back. Okay. You know, this idea of it's the other person's fault all the time. So that goes along with the house of mirrors. That if you come to the GETI Institute, you know, this is foundational stuff that we're teaching. It's the blame game is forget it. It's not gonna help you do anything except feel a false sense of security. So what you have to do, which is difficult, is I have to take a leader that is using, that falls back on their principles for strength. I have to teach them that that's wrong. I have to teach them that, yeah, that worked before. It's not going to help you now. You have to fall back on the unknown. You have to fall back on the mystery of what we need to figure out here and now. And you have to adopt a beginner's mind. Mm-hmm. And you have to let go of your sense of importance and your sense of authority and all, you know, the responsibility that's on your shoulders and all these things you're telling yourself, you know, that boost your ego.
You have to be a student at the same time.
Yes. And I think that that's something that we see that's been very valuable in the American cultural frame, is that there's a willingness, and I'm sure it's elsewhere in the world, so it's not only in America, don't get me wrong, but I think that this idea that we want to hire people smarter, a good leader hires people smarter than they are. That's really what you're trying to do.
Oh, yes.
If you do that, if you have that attitude and you're humble and you're receptive, then you can really innovate. But the more, you know, the more preconceived ideas you have, the less you're able to respond to the marketplace. And that's really at the heart of innovation in entrepreneurship, is looking for the new, you know, the blue water there in the market.
So you mention a lot of times the word success. What is your meaning of success, your definition of success?
Yeah, well, that's interesting. I'd like to see that tape. Did I say success quite a number of times?
Yes.
Interesting. Well, my definition of success is living well.
Okay. And what does living well mean?
And living well means being in a balanced, you know, being in the world in a way in which I'm as fully aware and as fully present as possible.
Okay.
And fully receptive to my experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah.
Okay. And what is money for you?
Money is just energy. It's just a means to an end.
Okay. So if someone who is listening has a medium or small and medium business,
yep,
what would you suggest that he should do to make it bigger or evolve?
I think the first thing I would suggest is to really spend time looking into what fears they have, because it's the fear that creates the unconscious barriers. So the first thing is to embrace your fear. The second thing to do is to embrace your appreciation of the unknown. Because leaders are under the false idea that they're supposed to know what's going on. And that's just not true. This is a sure way to mess yourself up. A leader is a visionary for a direction. What they have to do, they have a direction, they know where they want to go. How they get there, now this is something else completely.
They will find out.
They need, and to find out, they need to like the mystery.
Oh, yes.
And to appreciate that there's risk, because we don't know if it's going to work. So a lot of what you do as a successful entrepreneur is like a test, operate, test. You know, you imagine this could work. You organize your strategy and your team. You test it. If it works, you keep doing it. If it doesn't work, you do something else. So that flexibility to experiment and to embrace the unknown and to take risk is essential. And not to be, you have to have very, very big ears, not just to listen to the customer. So it's a combination of listening to the customer and being a visionary. Those are if you can get the middle ground there. You know, people talk about, I knew people who worked with Steve Jobs, and Steve Jobs was, you know, not a very nice fellow in many regards. And in the workplace, he had, he would have a vision of what he wanted, and everybody would think, it's impossible. It's just, we can't do that. And he would insist. He knew he had the vision, and he was insistent that it was possible, but he was also very much aware that he had to find the people that could do it. In other words, he knew he couldn't do it. But he knew someone could do it, and he was really, I think, fortunate with his first partner there was, that did the early programming that people thought wasn't possible. You have to have the vision, but be open to finding the pathway and the people to accomplish it.
So a good leader has to also be a high performer?
Good leader has to be a high performer. I hesitate to, the term high performance is like a popular idea. And certainly it sounds kind of sexy, and it sounds like, we all want to be high performers, but I'm not so sure it's a very useful term. I think we have to be certainly aware of ourselves. If high performer is that I'm aware of myself and I know how to navigate through the world, then I would agree. Okay. Yes, if that's what you mean by high performer.
Yes. And maybe I can be more productive in a less amount of time. That's also high performance.
Absolutely.
And have more free time for myself.
Absolutely.
It's not working many hours.
Right. Well, work alone will not make you rich.
Okay.
Right. It just won't. It's a given that you have to work hard, but just as important or more is to work smart.
Oh, yes.
And to be innovative. That's really, here's the amazing thing. Wealth is created out of nothing. It's created out of magic. This iPhone, it came out of magic. It came out of, Steve Jobs' head, that they were, imagine that thing. And they saw it in their hand. And, I remember somebody telling me a story that they put one of the first iPhones in Steve Jobs' hands, and he just threw it. He just tossed it down there and said, this isn't it. This is not what he could feel it in his hands, what it was supposed to feel like. So that's magic. So, this idea that it's a shame that people don't really appreciate that the creation of wealth out of nothing is really the key to everything that's happened. Unfortunately, we're a bit stuck with the material end of it.
And a famous Greek storyteller and writer. He has a very good TEDx talk, but he says that the biggest asset that you have is your fantasy.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's free, it's everywhere.
Yeah. But we have to take that fantasy and share it together and get some kind. I have to get your participation, otherwise I'm just crazy.
Yes, you're right.
Right? So, those people on the benches out there, they have high fantasy. So, and we have to get some agreement. Right? So I have to get your participation, and if it's a business, I have to get your agreement to do something together. So that's very important. If you don't have that piece, then you're just another dreamer out there that will remain dreaming.
So you consult a lot of people in businesses. Do you have any mentors?
Do I have any mentors?
You can talk with them and maybe...
well, I know a lot of people that are smarter than me about certain things. So yes, I have a.
So you take the chance to speak with them or eat with them, talk with them.
Absolutely. In fact, if it wasn't for my teachers and mentors, I wouldn't have gone anywhere. I mean, it's so important that we associate ourselves with people that we know have a more expanded sense of the world and of the areas that we're interested in, and learn from them. In fact, I get so into some of my mentors. I get their voice. One guy, I got his voice in my head.
Okay.
I was hearing my own internal dialogue, started to be this guy's voice.
Perfect.
I thought, that's a bit much, but
Okay, it's fine. It's imaginary conversation, because I listen to a lot of podcasts and YouTube videos from some people that I admire and they're very successful. So if you have heard 1,000 videos of him, you can have a conversation in your mind.
You can.
And you know what he will answer. And you hear from his voice.
Yes. Isn't that beautiful? YouTube is the only social media left that I feel is still really good.
Okay.
The rest of them have gone a little bit too far in advertising, but YouTube is amazing that way. And one of the things I want to talk about at the Game of Money Festival is that it's not just hearing them auditory, but it's picking up the presence. Because people carry a sense of possibility with them, and you can feel it when you're with them. And that is something that you can train yourself, you can develop in yourself, so that when you come into a room or you meet with a team, it's as if you're a doorway to future possibilities, that you're opening. You open a space for the future to happen through your presence. And that's something that
it's very important and very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because for instance, you and I are meeting today, and this will go out to whoever's listening to it, like you were saying, and there's a whole pattern of energy that will go out into the world, and who knows where that's going to go. Who knows who will listen to it? Who knows who will be interested in your work or my work or our conversation, and how that will ripple out. I can almost feel that happening already. And that the ability to carry that possibility is really important, because we really open the space with our consciousness. I don't want to sound too immaterial, but we have the consciousness to create our futures, and in fact, our futures are unfolding out of the moment. So your ability to carry your presence is so key in creating the future that you want to have, of which money is just a part. Money is just one component.
Oh yes. So one last question.
Yeah.
If you had the possibility to have a conversation or a dinner with someone you admire a lot, dead or alive, who would that be, and what would you talk about?
Wow. That's a good... that's such a deep question that I hesitate to be able to answer it. That's a good question. I'd say that one of the people that I don't know if this is one of the people I'd be interested to talk about. I would be interested to talk to a man named Werner Erhard. I don't know if you've ever...
No.
Werner Erhard was a fellow in the 70s who created the biggest personal growth organization, I think, that in history. I don't know, in America.
Okay.
You know, he's a kind of controversial figure who I think he's still alive. He's still operating out there somewhere. And I would really like to talk with him just to get his sense of his journey and his experience, what he's learned. He's in his 80s now. Okay. And he had many ups and many downs. And so that's the first thing that comes to mind. It'd be a fun conversation.
Maybe this energy can flow and enrich him.
I would be very surprised, but you never know. I mean, yes. that would be amazing. I live not far from where he was living during the heyday of his own popularity. So who knows? You never know. Life is magic.
Oh, yes.
And
you never know.
If you put the energy out there, it'll come back to you.
Perfect. It was a pleasure having this conversation. So we'll see you at the Game of Money Festival in November.
Yep.
Here in Greece. Perfect.
I'm so looking forward to coming back and to meeting everyone there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Μάθε το παιχνίδι του χρήματος.